Namaste, dear friends. Namaste. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to our Viniyoga Unplugged of the December month 2024. It's the last for this year, so namaste to all of you. Let us begin with our invocation chanting. Om. Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Yasya Dviradavaktradyah Parishadya Parashatam Vighnannignanti Satatam Vishwaksenantamashraye Jnananandamayan Devam Nirmalaspatikakritim Adharam Sarvavidyanam Hayagreevamupasmahe Pundarikaasanasenam Pandurabhrendusannibham Akhandabodhajanakam Hayagreevamupasmahe Gurubhyastadgurubhyascha Namo Vakamadhimahi Vrinimahi Chatatradyo Dampati Jagatampati Srinagaryam Mahapuryam Tamraparnyuttare Tate Shri Tintrini Mooladhamne Shathakopaya Mangalam Neelatungastanagiri Suptamudbodhya Krishnam Pararthyam Swam Shruti Shatashirasiddhamadhyapayanti Swachishhtayam Srajani Galitanya Balatkritya Bhunkte Godattasyai Nama Idamidam Bhoya Evastu Bhoyaha Jayatu Jayatu Natho Nyaya Tattva Pranetam Jayatu Jayatu Yogi Yoga Gukya Pravakta Jayatu Jayatu Sakshat Tattva Darshi Maharshi Jayatu Jayatu Bhaktir Mula Kandam Munindraha Swadhayanniha Sarveshan Trayantartham Sudurgraham Stotraya Masa Yogindra Tam Vande Yamunakwayam Yo Nityamachyutapadambuja Yugma Rukmam Vyamohitastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmadgurur Bhagavatasya Dayeka Sindho रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्य कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि। श्रीकृष्ण ब्रह्मतन्त्रोत्तम गुरुकरुणावाप्तचक्रङ्क भाष्यम् वैराग्याचारवार्धौ वरद पदमुखे लक्ष्मणे न्यस्तभारम् श्रीवागीशात्ततुर्यं शठरिपुयतिराड्वेदचूडार्यमूर्तिम् नोत्नं श्रीरङ्गनाथं कलिरिपुमनघं ब्रह्मतन्त्रं श्रयामः। श्रीमन्नूतनरङ्गनाथयतिराड् आप्तात्मविद्यालयम् श्रीमन्नूतनलक्ष्मणार्ययतिराट् सम्प्राप्ततुर्याश्रमम् श्रीवासेन्द्रकटाक्षसन्ततसुधालक्ष्यात्मयोगाश्चितम् श्रीमन्नूतनवागधीशयमिनं भक्त्याश्रयामो गुरुम्। श्रीकृष्णवागीशयतीश्वराभ्यां सम्प्राप्तचक्राङ्कणभाष्यसारम् श्रीनूत्नरङ्गेन्द्रयतौ समर्पितस्वम् श्रीकृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमीडे विरोधे कार्तिके मासे शतताराकृतोदयम् योगाचार्यं कृष्णमार्यं गुरुवार्यमहं भजे। शेष्यकं कृष्णमार्यस्य नाथवंशप्रदीपकं कल्याणगुणरूपन्तं श्रीदेशिकन्नमाम्यहम् प्रशान्तपुरुषाकारं विनियोगप्रचारकं विशेषवैदिकं सूरिं तन्देशिकं स्मराम्यहम्। लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमभ्यमाम् अस्मद् आचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। नमामि नारायणपादपङ्कजं करोमि नारायणभोजनं सदा वदामि नारायण नाम निर्मलं स्मरामि नारायण तत्त्वमव्ययम्। ॐ शान्त शान्त शान्तिः। Namaste, dear friends. Namaste, and welcome to our monthly meeting. I'm very happy that many of you are continuing to participate. So we are here discussing some of the key concepts that are important in the yoga tradition. And today we are going to talk about the topic of tapas, which is the third niyama of the Ashtanga Yoga, uh, as well as the first anga of the Kriya Yoga. So it's mentioned in two separate places. So the concept of tapas, of course, is quite important. Even in our Upanishads, this concept of tapas is talked about quite often, because tapas is an important part of our sadhana, and we must definitely honor tapas in our life. And yeah, and so let us see what tapas means. The word tapas is derived from the root tap dahi. That means a quenching of a thirst. A quenching of a thirst, that means some heat is produced. Sorry, dahi means thirst, not quenching, but it's a thirst. So a heat is produced. When you're thirsty, there's something that is burning in your throat. It's a very warm and hot sensation. Your throat becomes very dry, that you want to really kind of drink some water, right? So that's parched feeling. Which is what is the origin of the word tapadahi. The word dahanam also has another meaning. Dahanam means also to burn something. To burn something. So we have to understand this in a very uh, metaphoric manner, because tapas is not a process where we are burning ourselves. That would not be consistent with the Ahimsa Sutra that has been presented earlier. So obviously there must be another meaning for this word tapas, right? So tapas actually here means to burn our toxins. Tapaha is the concept of burning our toxins. We are all accumulating lots of toxins each day through what we eat, through what we consume, through other sources like televisions, nowadays social media, gossip, all those things that are consumption for us. We accumulate lots and lots of toxins at the body level, at the mind level, etc. At the body level also, when you look at the kind of food that we are eating, it is highly ultra processed foods. Not only that, how much we are eating is also a problem. How much we are eating also is a problem. So if we eat too much of the toxic food, that creates a problem. At the same time, if we consume too much of toxic consumption of news, of social media, bombarding us with opinions and things like that, most of which are not even the truth, it is also not correct. Somehow, even our modern news medias, which are supposed to have credibility and reliability, they're all bought out by the lobbies of political parties, pharmaceutical lobbies, business lobbies, and serve only corporate interest. They do not serve the interest of uh, normal people or even the facts. So it is very, very important to understand that whatever we read from these sources also comes with lots of toxins. Therefore, tapas becomes an integral part of our life, should become an integral part of our life. So there are many ways through which tapas is asked from us to be put in practice. One of the first ways is through what we call proper diet. Sattvika mita hita aharaha. Tapaha, mita, hita, aharaha. What the Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad also says, Ahara Shuddhau Sattva Shuddhihi Sattva Shuddhau Dhruva Smritihi Smriti Lambhe Sarva Granthinam Vipramokshaha. It's a beautiful chain of thoughts that says how when we are eating well, our mind is well. When our mind is well, then our memory and the capacity to meditate becomes well. And when we are able to meditate, then we are able to liberate ourselves from all the bondage that we have. This is very, very, very important. Whatever we are consuming, of course, it's influencing our mind. And that is why the Vedic tradition strongly emphasized on the concept of a sattvic diet, mita, hita, ahara, appropriately sattvic diet, which is a diet that is mostly plant-based diet, a vegetarian diet. Even when they consumed some meat, they consumed meat very, very rare, exceptional days. Because please remember, my dear friends, in the past, when there was no refrigeration and things like that, they could not buy meat for a whole month or whatever and keep it in their house. It would start stinking. So even if they bought meat, it was for a short term consumption, because they would also not be able to go hunting on a daily basis and storing on a daily basis. So they mostly, even those who were consuming animal meat, they were also mostly vegetarians, and this is how it was all over the world, with probably the exception of the northernmost part of the world, which is like Siberia and places like that, where probably not much grew, or in Antarctica. And we don't have to worry about Antarctica so much, because unless we are penguins, we don't have much ancestors there. So in most of the places, the concept of sattvic diet is very important. And that diet should be in limited quantity as well. This is also important, and that is again another problem we have. At least if you take most people nowadays, we have 3 meals a day, and then we have in between snacks. We are binge eaters. We eat all the time. So we wake up and drink our coffee, and with our coffee we try to take some cookie or something, and then we have our breakfast, which is very substantial, blah blah blah. And by the time we go to work, we are already hungry. We have a snack meeting with our first coffee, and then we have lunch, another meal, then we have an afternoon coffee with an afternoon cake, and then we have come home for dinner, then we have dinner, then we watch TV, and before we go to sleep we eat something else. That many times we are eating, and no wonder we are full of toxins, and our mental health is really, really horrible. Whereas if you look at the ancient people, they were only eating once or twice a day. They were not eating so many times. I mean, honestly, it was also a practical problem. They could not store food. I remember myself when I was younger, we did not have refrigeration in our house. My grandmother would go and buy food from the market every single day and make one main meal, which was the big meal of the day, the lunch, brunch, whatever you want to call it. And then normally we ate leftovers of that in the evening time. This is how life was. Still, the last 40, 50 years where things have changed dramatically. So we are consuming a lot of toxins. So resetting the toxic habit of eating is also what we call as tapas. And that's why try to eat in limited quantity sattvic food, of course, after blessing the food in the appropriate manner. And of course, try to eat as much as possible non-processed food. I try to follow a simple formula. Anything that comes in a packet, don't eat it. As, especially things like chips, or all these snacks and things like that. I try to only thing I buy for in a packet is things like butter or milk or things like that, which of course you cannot carry it without a packet. Try to buy the vegetables and fruits from the market so that you can pick your own. When you make contact with the vegetable, there starts a bond with the vegetables, and therefore it becomes much more healthier. So this is one of the concepts of eating as well. And another concept that is automatically included in this is how much we are eating, right? So nowadays we have all this modern day jargon of, oh, intermittent fasting and all that bullshit that Western people like to give names to. This is all bullshit because there's no such thing as intermittent fasting. There's only one way to eat, which was the traditional way: eat once or twice a day. Full stop. Don't give fancy names just because you want to sound modern. That's all absolute marketing bullshit, because my grandmother, my great grandmother, my great grandfather, they did not call it intermittent fasting. They just, that is how their diet was, that is how food was consumed. Having said that, there were also fasting which was part of these days, which was called as upavasa, where they would not consume any food for a whole day, twice a month at least. They chose a certain days of the month as days where they would not eat any physical food. The only thing they would do was sip water twice a month. This is very, very important to reset the body. So if you can do that as well. However, it comes with a very, very big disclaimer that if you do that kind of fasting, you are not meant to eat or work anything on that day. You're meant to rest. So you cannot do fasting like that and then say, okay, I'll do my 10-kilometer jog anyway. No, you should not do that. You must allow your body to reset and rest completely. Otherwise, it would not be healthy. The tapas itself would become a problem, that it would burn you rather than just the toxins. So this is what is called as the topic of diet as a tapas. Then there is also another way to uh, practice tapas in daily life, um, which is the concept of decluttering. Do not keep your home in a very messy, dense energy. Do not keep your homes and places in a very dense energy. You need to declutter the energy. So have space in your homes, in your rooms. And one way to make space is to reduce the number of objects that you have. So in a way, we have on the one extreme, when you go to certain cultures, you have the topic of hoarding, where people hoard things. They have so many books, so many clothes, so many decorative objects. Everywhere you have so many things. And then you go to another extreme, another culture, where they have the opposite of minimalism, where they have nothing actually. Now, both extremes are not healthy. We need to have a proper balance of the two. So, my suggestion is that you declutter, and in this way, you move around things. You also can move around things. Do not keep things fixed in your home. Move around things. And this is a very interesting idea that I also remember my grandfather, Acharya Krishnamacharya, was practicing, where he would even change the way the room arrangement of how he would sleep in different seasons. He would see that in different seasons, the energy would be different in the different spaces of his sleeping room. So he would change the orientation of his bed and sometimes even the place of his bed, so that he would be able to gain from that. This is also a form of tapas, because we are not allowing dense energy to gather. We are not allowing dense energy to gather. We are circulating it. This is particularly important in homes and countries or in neighborhoods where the energy is quite dense. There are some places where the energy is much more denser and heavier, and you can feel it just by being there for a few days. You start to feel heavy and dense, and you just do not feel like moving too much, or it's a struggle to move quite a bit. Not just, I'm not talking about physical movement, but the mind and energy and the emotion to move. So this is one way to do that decluttering of things. Another thing that is very important in spaces as a practice of tapas, especially at homes, is use of fire, altar, where you have to have an altar in your each home and you light fire in each home. This is also a tapas, an offering of tapa, of fire each day. This is what is also self-discipline, my dear friends. This is where I'm very, very proud of our Indian and Asian culture, where every home usually has an altar. And in the altar, we are always lighting a lamp every day, one time in the morning, and of course, one time in the evening. And of course, when you are entering the altar, you have to have shaucha. That's why shaucha comes first. You need to clean yourself twice a day. Again, I keep repeating this. I don't care if you don't like it, and some of you don't like it. I don't care. You need to have a bath twice a day, top to bottom. And the water must always come from the top to the bottom. That's why even in India, when we don't have showers, we're using a bucket and a mug. We are pouring it from the head down rather than from the bottom up. Some people just give a stupid excuses. Oh, I'm just going to sit in my bathtub and just touch my bottom and my back. That's not an appropriate way to clean yourself. Nor is it appropriate if you clean yourself only once or twice a week or a month or a year. That's not really tapas and shaucha. So you need to light a lamp, because what the fire does is it dispels the dark, dense energy of the home, of the altar. And this is very, very, very significant. This is very, very, very significant. So that's also why I practice this even here in Singapore. All the people who are visiting my house so far here, they always say, "Oh my God, your energy is so good," even though I don't believe it, that it's as good as some of the other places that I've visited. But it is because of these kind of practices that the energy becomes lighter. We need to use fire in our altar every day through incense sticks or candle or a lamp. In India, we use an oil lamp. We have different ways through which we can do it. This is also something you can find in lots of Asian cultures, in Japan, in China, in Korea. They do use it, but nowadays not so much in the homes. And I hope my Asian brothers and sisters will start doing it once again, because this is a very, very good way to remove the density of toxic energy in the house. Because if we allow dense energy to build, it attracts dark spirits and dark energies. So that is why it's very, very important. Now, Taponah Paramaha Pranayamaha, the great Vyasa, who is the first commentator of the Yoga Sutra, is talking in his commentary on the Yoga Sutra, Taponah Paramaha Pranayamaha. There is no greater tapas than the practice of pranayama. There is no greater tapas than the practice of pranayama. Of course, when he is talking about pranayama in the time of Vyasa, my dear friends, again, some of you may like it, may not like it. Even my brothers and sisters in India may not like it. Pranayama was always sa mantraka pranayama, because without mantra, pranayama does not get the power, and the mantra is what burns the toxic karma. So that is why pranayama has been presented as part of tapas. So what Vyasa is saying is, please practice pranayama as part of tapas, as part of the tapas. And I can give a simple metaphor, because through the practice of pranayama, samantraka pranayama, we may not know what are our toxins. And this is the problem in the modern era. We always want to know what. But sometimes we don't know what, because the toxins that we are having need not be something that we know. We can inherit from our vasanas. We can inherit from our ancestors. So we don't know what always the toxin is. That's why I always give the metaphor of the plumber, where sometimes you have a problem in one of your pipes in the house, and the plumber comes and he is basically putting some chemical into the system, and then waits for about 10-15 minutes, and then just sends water through, and the pipes get declogged. Now, the same way, what clogs our system, we may not always know. But when we start practicing pranayama on a regular basis, especially samantraka pranayama, then what happens is the system becomes unclogged. So we may not know what has changed, but we know that there is a change. It's what I always say to people. You don't know what changed, but you know that there is a change. And this is the power of samantraka pranayama. And some of you are interested, there is still time for you to join our samantraka pranayama course that we will start from January. So please go to our website and register yourself if you want. Samantraka is pranayama is a very powerful way to practice tapas. It's a very, very powerful way. And again, the concept of this pranayama practice is also a daily discipline. That's why when we talk about tapas, we talk about this as a self-discipline, whether it's diet or pranayama practice, or the concept of decluttering, or this lighting of a lamp in your altar every day. What is common to all of this is that you have to do it every day. It becomes a discipline. So if you have to do this every day, you have to train yourself to do it, so the will starts to become active in this process. If you are lazy even for a day or two, you will not do it. And therefore, you become weaker. You become weaker. And therefore, tapas has to be something that is repeated every day. Tapas has to be done every day. That is why it is considered as a self-discipline. There are many more concepts behind tapas. One of that is what is presented as tapaha dvandva sahanam. Tapas is the practice of not being affected by the extremes. We are all going through extremes in life. There is some moments we are on a high, some moments we are on a low. There are some moments we are happy, there are some moments we are unhappy. There are some moments where we feel warm, it's like summer, it's hot and warm. Some moments we are facing cold, winter, cold weather. If you're lucky enough to live in Singapore, you can experience this within the same hour. You are going out of your house, it's very hot. Whereas everywhere else, it's very cold. You take a taxi, the AC is blasting. The train is super cold. The shopping mall is super cold. So you have this extreme heat and cold, dvandva, the polarity. Now, this polarity is not just about hot and cold, it's about everything. We need to remain stable among this up and down. Life is never going to be going the way you want it to go. It will go up, it will go down. It's not possible to only have what you want to happen. Even if you look at it from a point of view of sport, if your team always wins, you will stop watching at some point. It will be so boring. So your team has to win sometime, lose sometimes. It has to keep going up and down. This is normal in life. But what's important is we don't allow that to overpower us, for which we need to have a very strong connection to our will so that we are not affected or overtaken by the extremes. We are not overtaken by the extreme. Dvandva sahanam. This is one of the definitions of tapas. Another, this comes from Shankara's commentary on the Yoga Sutra, tapaha krichra chandrayanadi shita ushnadi dvandva sahanam. Another definition of tapas, tapaha kaya shoshanam. Kaya shoshanam tapaha. Keep your body free from toxins. Now, this is done through many processes like diet, like exercise, like good lifestyle, etc. Because all of our dimensions of our body is interconnected. So we need to address everything holistically, because what happens in one dimension will influence the other dimensions. What happens in one dimension will influence. So if you don't eat well, it's not just your digestive system that will get affected, even your mood, your energy will get affected. The same with your mood. If you're not, if you're always being a victim, always having raga, dvesha, vinivesha in your mind, then that will not only affect your mind, it will also affect your body. They're all interconnected. That's why we need to practice a detoxification practice, that is removing toxins from all the dimensions. So that's what is called kaya shoshanam tapaha. Practice things like diet, lifestyle, attitudes, bhavana, maitri, karuna, the bhavanas we did in the beginning of the year. All these are ways through which we can practice tapas in a holistic way. Now, the last thing I want to say, this is my personal experience of tapas, what I view as tapas. Do what you are hesitating or resisting the most, and you know that it's not wrong. So, for example, if you are hesitating to exercise because you're a bit lazy or you're hesitating, then start doing that. If you are resisting or have a hesitation to stop eating sugar, for example, that's what you're hesitating, that's what you're resisting the most, then start doing that. If you are resisting to shower every day, start doing that. These are things that are a sign that what you resist is the work of the devil. The devil is what is preventing you from not doing what you know you are supposed to do. It's very, very important that you start doing what you are hesitating the most, as long as it is not an unhealthy thing. That act itself, I don't think there is anybody in this world who can say that starting to move 20 minutes a day is unhealthy. It's actually healthy. I don't think anybody in this world will say, well, if I eat less sugar, it's unhealthy. So it's healthy, do it. I don't think anybody in the world will say, well, if I shower twice a day, it's unhealthy. Actually, it is very healthy, do it. We're not asking you to do drugs or alcohol or, things which are not healthy. What is healthy? Don't start to bring excuses in the form of guilt activism and other ways to not do what you are supposed to do and then get upset about people who are actually doing it. Tapas is also doing what you hesitate the most. Look at your own self. You will see that there are some good things that are good for you that you are hesitating the most. Maybe you're hesitating to talk to your family member. Start picking up the phone, call them, start talking to them. Reach out, right? If they don't reach out, that's their problem, not your problem. Because what is in our control, as Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, is our actions. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So you think that you think only about your action. Do not think about the consequences, because that is not in your control. So don't worry about whether they reply or don't reply. Just do it. The same way, healthy, sugar, less sugar. Don't think about consequences. Oh, if I do this, that'll happen. If you do this, that'll happen. That's not your problem. That is somebody's problem, not another person. I mean, God's problem or the universe's burden or responsibility. It's not what we choose. You think that you not showering is going to save water for the planet, you're sadly mistaken, because that's a stupid way of thinking, because you think you are in charge of this world. If you think that if you don't exercise, it's good for you, because then you can do some other thing that is more useful, like watch TikTok. No, then you are sadly mistaken, because that's very, very stupid, because you are missing out so many more things that are far more important. So that's why do what you are resisting the most, because that resisting is the act of some evil force within you, and tapas is to break free from that evil force which is preventing you from becoming lighter. That's where the energy becomes more and more dense, and it creates lots of problems. So these are some of the ideas of how we can practice tapas. Now, what happens when we practice tapas? Kaya indriya siddhihi ashuddhikshayat tapasaha. Our Acharya Patanjali is saying that when we practice tapas, first what happens is ashuddhikshaya, the toxins are getting removed. When the toxins are getting removed, then there is mastery of body and the senses, which are our vehicles to function our dharma. Just look at it in a metaphoric way. If you have a car that has some toxins in its engine that is blocking the functioning of the engine in an efficient manner, the car will not serve its dharma of riding well. So you remove that toxin from the engine, the car's engine starts to function better. Therefore, it serves the dharma better. It takes us to our destination without a problem. In the same way, when we practice tapas, the toxins that are holding us back are reduced, and therefore we get power in our senses and body, so that the kaya and indriya, they can help us fulfill our dharma to the best capacity. So that's what Patanjali is saying, because this is very, very important, because in all the Vaidika darshanas, as well as in the darshanas that are coming from Asia, like Buddhism and Jaina Dharma, etc., we are not really liberated until we fulfill our dharma. That's why even Buddha says, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, surrender to dharma. You cannot liberate yourself without dharma. That's a Buddhist tradition that is non-Vedic. In all the Vedic darshanas, dharma is the first step. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma has to be fulfilled for liberation. So it's a very important concept. That's why Patanjali is saying, well, look, you got to function your dharma through your body and the senses. So if your body and senses are not available for you in its best possible way, how can you fulfill your dharma? Therefore, please fulfill your dharma. Therefore, please fulfill your dharma, so that you are able to achieve the liberation that you are meant to achieve. So that's why we need to practice tapas, my dear friends, so that our body and senses are our friends and allies, rather than becoming a burden for us. In a way, we need to take care of the body and senses, so that the body and sense are able to take care of us in our dharma. So this is the topic, my dear friends. We will conclude with a small chant. Om Tacchayoravrimahe Gata Yajnaya Gata Yajnapataye Daivi Swastirastuna Swastirmanushabhyaha Urdhvanjighatu bheshajam Shanno astu dvipade Shanchatushpade. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti. Namaste, friends, and have a wonderful holidays ahead of you, and wish you a happy new year as well. We will continue in the new year as well, our monthly Sangha. Namaste. Thank you.